Shout out, shout out, the Connects, Luis Guzman. Don't ever go, never leave my side. Passion's all I have.
Yes.
Courage is my drive.
Yes.
And if I lost you,
Yes.
I would lose it all together.
Welcome to
to
another episode of I'm an Artist, Not a Salesman podcast, where we highlight the journey of entrepreneurs and business people alike to showcase that every light and dark moment creates a beautiful piece of art. And this is episode 13. I am your host, Luis Guzman. I have a special, super duper special guest in the building tonight. I'm happy he took some time to sit down with us. This man right here, he's an entrepreneur. He's a businessman. He's a father. He's a DJ. The list goes on and on, but I got a list. He's a real estate investor. He's a philanthropist. But most importantly, and one of the main reasons why he's here is that he is a visionary. And I'm excited to pick his brain, to hear his story, and to see how he got to where he got to today. And if you don't know who I'm speaking of, it is the one and only Eddy G. Welcome to the show, my brother.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Man.
Yeah, thank you. We
Thank you for
appreciate
the invite.
We appreciate you being here, man. And the other special guest, Gabriel, is in the building. Make some noise for Gabriel.
Yeah.
Yeah, my man.
It is very nice to be on the show.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you. Look at that, gentleman. You're a gentleman. So, our show here is about discussing the journey of the entrepreneur and how you are an artist in your own right, and not just a salesman where you sell stuff, but you're an artist in what you do. So, I always ask every guest that comes on here the first question: who is Eddy G?
Well, wow. Eddy G. Eddy G was born actually in when I started getting myself into house music. But I started as a DJ, and my mom, she was into her house party, so I would see her play music, but she would only play salsa. So when I started in the industry as a DJ, I started as a salsa DJ.
Right.
And my first nightclub was a salsa nightclub, and that lasted 5 years.
What was the name of the salsa club?
Palo Rumberos.
Palo Rumberos, yes.
Which it was literally right across the street from where Barcode is right now.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's how I started, man. But with all the roller coaster rides, of life, because you got a lot of ups, but you also have a lot of downs. It's kind of built me to the person I am today.
And when you're saying roller coasters, right? I mean, we're gonna get into a lot, but I want to start with your mother. What you just said, was she a big influence on you with music? Of
course. Well, she was my only influence because I never had a father figure.
So you come from a single parent household.
Yes. My mom, my supposed father left me when I was 6 months of age.
Wow.
And then at that point, he left, and we never. Well, I was too little, so I would not know.
Right.
But never came around. So my mom was pretty much the one that held everything down.
And to this day, have you ever met your father at all?
No, thank God. No. He wouldn't. I would not want to meet that guy right now. Trust me.
No. Wow, man. I mean, look at that. I mean, I've known you for a long time, and that's a part of your story that I personally didn't even know. And I mean, how does that shape you today, being your father as well?
The biggest blessing. Because you know what it is to me, the biggest blessing not having him in my life. Because you know what? Imagine if he would have been. Maybe I would have not done as much as I did.
Absolutely.
So to go back into time and maybe risk changing to where I'm at today, I don't think I would take that chance.
It wouldn't make you the man that you are today.
Nah. Listen, the difficult times is what shapes people to be better. Anybody could ride a good ride, but what makes you strong is, my mom, welfare, low income, single mom, it was like, listen, we got to figure things out. My mom, when my stepfather left the house, because I also have a younger brother. When he left the house, my mom was like, well, listen, I have all the bills to myself, and I can't keep sustaining this place like this. So my mom started making empanadas, and I would sell them in the corner.
You would sell them with her?
No, I would sell them. She would cook them.
She would cook them. Okay.
Yeah, because there was a lot of demand. Where I grew up, it was at that time it was horrible. It was a very infested area of narcotics. So everybody was moving weight in the corners. And I'm like, wait.
In Elizabeth?
No, I'm not from Elizabeth.
Oh, where are you from?
I'm from New York.
Okay.
I was born in Brooklyn, and I lived there till I was 9, and then I moved to Queens when I was until I was 17.
Wow. So
Yeah.
so you went for Brooklyn, Queens, and then when did you get to Elizabeth?
And I was 17.
Wow. Okay. So you were already a young man. At
Yeah,
this
no.
point.
To me, you know, I met Elizabeth through because of a female,
Really?
actually, and then the opportunity came, and I got to the city, and my life changed. Wow. You know, I went from doing, you know, don't get me wrong, like I already had clear that I wanted to be involved in music. I just didn't know to what extent I was going to become big in music. You know.
Yeah.
And it was just pretty much the business side that made me big because I could still push, you know, as a career for as a DJ, but I think that I do more what I'm doing now.
Right.
Like to me now, music is like I do it as a hobby, but the business side still influences a lot in music, and the fact that I'm in the control seat, I'm able to control the path for where everything else goes. So I like that because I like putting opportunities for other people just like myself to grow. You know?
And I said that in the beginning that you're a visionary, but before, you know, as we're gonna dive into that, I want to go back to the empanadas because I feel like that shaped you from a young age to be a young entrepreneur
100%.
and to be resourceful, which I think that a lot of pseudo businessmen now don't have.
Well,
is
look,
the resourcefulness.
It's one corner, two choices. All right. So my friends were a lot older than me. So when I was 13 years old selling empanadas, my friends were 18, 19, 20. I never liked to hang out with people my age. So at the time, with the money that I made in the empanadas, well, let's start with that reason saying one corner, two choices.
Yeah, what does that mean?
To me, I'm gonna give you the breakdown. Where I lived, it was a lot of drugs being sold. Now, what was the two choices? They sold drugs. I sold empanadas. Why? Because if they left the corner, somebody would come and take their customers, and they would lose the customer. Right? It's not like this is a corner. This is you're pushing weight in the corner.
Exactly.
But as you're pushing weight, you can't leave nowhere because you're gonna lose your customer. Mm-hmm. I was supplying demand. I was selling them food so they wouldn't leave the corner and they could still keep on hustling.
Wow.
And with that money, I bought my first DJ equipment at 13. I started doing parties.
In Brooklyn and Queens?
No, only Queens.
Only Queens.
I'm already out of Brooklyn.
You're already out of Brooklyn. So we're in Queens, we're DJing.
Yes. So now I start doing parties and then I start seeing the potential. I start doing like little, house parties. And then when I saw the potential in what I could do, I'm like, wait a minute, let me start renting halls. And then I did that. And then I started making $500, $1,000 at the age of 14.
Wow.
And then now, and my other problem was, so now this is when school, doing everything that you're not supposed to do, how I turned it into something good. So I'm dyslexic. A lot of people don't know that.
I don't know that either.
So my biggest thing is when I was in school, I was in special ed. And when I went to high school, they no longer had special ed, the program that I needed.
Really?
So I went from being in a class of 12 to being in a class of 40. Now I have to read in front of the class. So now I'm reading correctly, but I'm not retaining information. So I hated school. Right. So I started cutting class. And I turned it into a business. So I would cut class. My friend's father used to be the one in charge of the projects, which was literally right next door to the school. And at that time, cable TV, that's when cable started coming in.
Right.
So all these buildings were not designed to have cable TV ran to their apartments. So every time an empty apartment would come up, they would knock everything out and they'd rewire the apartment and then rent it out. But that was a 4 or 5 month process.
Gotcha.
For 4 or 5 months, I had a mini club.
Wow.
Because I would get the keys to the location to the empty apartment and we would cut class and I would charge $5 to get in per period.
Genius.
Rocking.
Wow.
You couldn't walk in those parties.
What time of day was this happening? I mean, did you have security at the door? How did the infrastructure work in those parties?
Listen, it was just put 2 speakers in there, a sound system, and call it out, and that's it.
That's it.
But the good thing about it is that it was salsa.
What?
So it was like a very specific,
Ismael Rivera.
Yeah, of course.
Come on, man.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Were there a lot of people going to your house party?
Oh yeah, there were. So of course. So now I'm not doing good in school. I got the teachers telling me, "Oh, you're never gonna beat anything or whatever." But it's just because, everybody thinks that the only dream is go to school and become an employee. I'm not. I was just not going to be that. So, I followed my dream. It's music. And then I started doing a lot of parties. Then I stopped doing the hooky parties because then I started doing the weekend parties. And
so
then
you're graduating in party life.
yeah, I'm graduating as money
Party
comes in. I'm
business.
like, wait a minute. If I did $200 in a hooky party, what if I just wait to the weekend and just do that big party? But I'm already building the following. So now I'm like, wait. And I start doing those parties, and then that's what starts giving me the confidence of where I want to be. Why would that give me the confidence? Because then at that point I was charging, maybe if I was to DJ somewhere, I was charging $100, $150 a night.
Nice.
And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm charging 150, but if I do my own party, I make 200. But if I do a whole now, I'm doing between $700 to $1,000 in admissions. So now I became $1,000 DJ.
Look at that.
At that age. So I'm like, listen, this is just about putting your heads together. I started improving my equipment. I started buying more stuff. And now I'm started to do, weddings. I started doing, $1,500, $2,000 for a wedding. Where at that time, even guys today don't even kind of make that kind of money.
Absolutely not.
But I was doing that at that age. So that's how I started as a DJ. And that's how I transitioned, eventually to where I got. So how I get to Elizabeth is because an actual girl that I meet in Colombia. So
what's that connection about? Jesus.
So I go to this nightclub in Colombia. I was 16 years old. I go to this nightclub in Colombia, and I see this beautiful girl dancing. So I ask her to dance. So I'm thinking, I'm the American kid. I'm gonna try to talk to this girl, whatever. And then she's like, "Oh no, I'm from New Jersey." She completely screwed me up because I'm thinking
She's from New Jersey.
I think I'm gonna talk to her. I'm the white guy.
Yeah.
American. What's up?
She threw you for a loop.
And she's like, "Oh no, I'm from New Jersey." But I'm like, "Oh really?" Oh, I go to. I'm talking to her now where I party at in New York, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I go there all the time." Now I'm finding out that this girl also parties in the club that I go to.
Oh wow! So look at that connection.
I asked her. That was that one song we danced. When I went to ask her for the second song, because salsa. If you listen to salsa and you go to a real salsa nightclub, you're not freaking mixing it. The song finishes.
You play the whole song.
And the song stops and the next one starts.
The next one starts, yeah.
What happens? The song stops. She goes to her table. When the next song plays, I'm gonna go ask her to dance. I don't see this girl again. So a year later, I bump into her at this club. And I'm there with all my boys, and she's there with all her girls. And then I'm like, "Hey, do you remember me? I met you in Colombia a year ago." Like, "Oh my God." And then because of that, I built a friendship with all her friends. So for my 17th birthday, I invited her to come to my party, and she came with all her friends. One of the girls came with the boyfriend, and he had never heard me play. And this guy's like, "Yo, this guy's incredible." So what happened? One day he's sitting where Mama Sushi is right now.
Okay.
Downstairs used to be a place called El Exclusivo.
Okay.
The whole building was abandoned, but the only thing that was occupied was that main floor. So what happened? I don't know if you guys ever heard the story of El Balcón in Elizabeth.
Yeah. One of my friend's brothers passed away in that whole fire.
Second floor thing. Right?
Yeah.
Yes. So what happened was that the doors didn't open out; they opened in. So when kids were running down the stairs, now somebody tried to open the door. Now you got
Everybody's trying to come.
and then what happens? 4 kids passes away.
Oh my God.
Because of that incident, they launched an investigation on all the bars in Elizabeth to make sure that everything was up to code.
Fire code and everything. Yeah.
Well, what happened? The building was abandoned. The only thing that was occupied was the part where I was DJing at. So the inspectors came over and they said, "Wait a minute, you're good down here, but you got to put up the building up to code because if something happens upstairs, people are going to die downstairs." And they weren't hearing no story. So they shut the place down.
Yeah.
So crazy stories that because when I came to Elizabeth, where Palo Rumbero was,
Yes.
there was a place called Séptimo Cielo. Prior to that.
That was where Palos Zumbedos was before it was Palos
So then
Zumbedos.
this DJ that used to DJ El Exclusivo before me coming in, he goes in there, "Hey, listen, I need a raise. I want more money." And the owner, I'm like, "Listen, how can I pay you more money?" But remember, back then there was no CDs. It was all vinyl.
Yeah.
And you could know everything about music. But if you don't have the vinyl,
You're not a DJ.
you're not a DJ.
Yeah.
Like, not like I could go right now. I could just give you my hard drive and you could go, play whatever you want. So because of that, the guy was sitting at the bar that had went to my birthday party, and he tells the owner, bro, don't worry about it. Let him go. I got this guy from New York. This guy's going to kill it. Calls me up. I said, yeah, why not? My friends are always in Jersey. So I'm like, I'll just go, because I used to DJ at 3 a.m. in Queens. Because all the salsa clubs, they used to close at 7 in the morning.
I thought it was like an after-hour spot. But
it was.
Okay.
But it was a legal after hour. Like the closing time was 7 a.m. So I started DJing there. And when the word got out, the fucking place was rammed.
Really?
Like they had to close the doors at 11 o'clock.
The word of mouth was crazy.
So it was incredible. And remember, back then was no social media, no nothing.
No, everything was word of mouth.
Like,
this guy's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
And we rammed it. Because of me coming there, the place Sétimo Cielo went out of business. So
go ahead.
And so now I'm DJing. This place can't even pay their bills. They get evicted, and we get shut down a week later after the eviction.
What?
Yeah, because what happened? Because of me being there, business was rocking that nobody was going to the other club. So this guy couldn't pay his bills, so he lost the location. How he would have known that a week later, El Balcón was going to happen and was going to trigger investigation to where I was DJing at.
Wow.
So I get shut down. So now I got some money saved. I had like 50,000 saved at the time, which is a lot of money for that when I was a kid.
Absolutely, yeah. How old were you at this time?
I was going to be 18.
18. Wow.
Turning 18.
17 with 50 grand. Go.
Ready to go.
Wow.
So I tell the guy, listen, why don't we just look for another location? Because now he knew who I was, the owner of the business. And let's relocate. I got 50,000. Let's use that to relocate. You already got all the equipment. All we got to just go move it somewhere else.
Location.
And that's it.
That's it.
So he says, yeah, no problem. He had some emergency bills to pay. So I loaned him like 5,000 at the time. And after that, like a week later, he comes and tells me that he wasn't interested in being partners with anybody, that he was just going to eventually just pay me back and whatever.
Why the switch up? He just wanted the 5,000?
He was going through a lot. Imagine you have a successful business and all of a sudden this guy, the city comes and shuts you down, puts you out of business, right? So, but what happened? When he told me yes, I went and found out who was a realtor at the time. There was an old man by the name of Ed Blick. So Ed Blick, I called him up. I'm like, listen, we're looking for a location. He's like, well, what are you trying to business? You trying to put it on? We're opening up another nightclub. And we got shut down because of the building. Told him the story. He says, you might be in luck right now. I said, why you would say that? There's a club right across the street from you that the owner evicted, and he just gave me the listing to put it up for sale as the business or for a lease. Now the guy says, well, if he pays for the license, I'll just give him the lease. Now remember, now I'm gonna become 18. I'm not even 18 yet.
18 yet.
So he showed me the location. I said, how much is the rent? It was like $2,900 or $2,800, and it was 2 months security deposit, 1 month for rent.
But this is for you to mortgage it or to rent it?
No, to rent it.
Okay, to rent it.
No buying here.
Got it.
So I go ahead and I make the deal with the guy. I gave him the money for that so we could start the lease. A few weeks later, I was going to be 18. So I go see this attorney, George Cruz. And I'm like, listen, I have an opportunity to open up a club. When I told him how old I was, I told him to be 18. Listen, just come back to me 2 weeks from now when you're 18 and I could officially sit down and talk to you. Yeah, I went to him. I took a copy of what was going to be the lease. We made the deal. And that's how I got started with my first club.
Wow.
But before that, I sat my whole family down in the living room in Queens, because I wasn't living here at that time. I was just DJing here, but I was living in Queens. And I told my whole family, hey, listen, there's an opportunity for me to open up a nightclub, and I want to see if you guys could help me out. They all laughed in my face. Come on.
They didn't believe.
No, come on. You're 17 years old. You're not going to get a nightclub. Listen, don't waste our time. So weeks later, I come back to them. I said, remember when I told you guys that I want to do a nightclub and that, I need some help? Yeah, well, you're not going to get that. I'm like, no, you're wrong. Here's the keys. Now, are you going to help me out or not? Well, to this day, most of them work for me.
Right.
So that was the story of how I got that location going.
But isn't that crazy, Edwin? Because I have a saying on this show. It says 99% are scared to do the 1%. And in this case, your family was the 99%, but you're that 1% that everybody thinks you got to go to school, like you said, and go to college and get a career. The 1% takes the risk, is a visionary.
Listen, I don't even have a high school diploma.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's all hustle.
And I once I went to go get my good enough diploma. Yeah. It was so hot in there, I just walked out.
Really?
Yeah.
But do you think that is the beauty of why you're such a great businessman? Well, is the fact that you can't go school, like
I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice but to make this thing work.
But where does that come from? That feeling of like that survivor mentality.
I believe that comes from. Listen, when you live in the projects, there's two choices. You either sink in it and be program of the system, which is why I believe a lot of people are scared to make decisions, because the government. My belief of what's going on or what goes on is that every time the government gives you something, they take away something from you, which is the ambition. And if they take away your ambition, they're taking away your soul. And if you have no soul, then you become a robot of the system. And I was not going to be part of that. I was the happiest person at 18 when I was officially off of that, because that was not one thing that I wanted to be. I did not want to. It was embarrassing for me. Remember, back then, food stamps weren't actually food stamp. It was paper. Yeah. And going to a grocery store and seeing, my cool friends, and I'm here with some ABC clothes because it wasn't even no name brand. It was nothing. I wanted Nikes. I got Sykes. I got Reeboks. I got Bach. Like there was no brand. Like, you could fill in the blank or whatever, but that's all I got. And that was my life. My life was that. And I'm like, wait, I'm not gonna be part of that system again. This is not what I want to be. So I made the decision and I left. And I came to Jersey. And here is where I met the mother of my first child, Brian. Mm-hmm. And that's why I say, like, I'm so grateful for my city, because I believe that if it wouldn't been because of the city of Elizabeth, I don't think that I would have ever, And remember, I'm only saying that because that's the moment. That's what I got to live. Maybe my life would have been also different in a different location, but this is the city that opened its arms for me, and I have to be extremely grateful to it.
I've noticed that with you is that you have a lot of allegiance to the city, and you do a lot of great things in the city. And I want to get to where we go from Palos Zumbedos up to where we are now with Barcode. But I'm curious, because you did recently donate, money to the city of Elizabeth. I think it was Elizabeth's Promise to help kids graduate from high school, and also to pay for the college, things like that. And I think that's so inspiring when they see somebody like you come from where you came from, and now you're here giving other people opportunity. That must make you feel so good that you're paying it forward.
Well, listen, you got to look at it like this. Life. You could be the best mechanic. But you need tools. And that's what I do. I put my job, or my passion is to put the tools in your hand. Like, this would not be here if somebody didn't take the time to put this microphone here, right?
Correct.
And that's what it takes. It takes the tools to elevate. And then as your money starts coming in, it's for you to invest more in yourself. That's when you could go ahead. He could have bought, whoever put this together, he could have go and buy some Yeezys, or he could have bought that mic.
Absolutely.
And maybe he just bought some, $50 sneakers, but maybe this microphone is going to buy a whole block one day because of the message that was recorded in it. You see, the problem is that everybody's designed just to see what's in front of you. But nobody really takes the time to try to understand that life is way more about that. Like, look, for example, what's in my hand right now?
Nothing.
That's what you think. That's what we're programmed to think, right? There's nothing here, just skin, right? Mm-hmm. A hand. Well, didn't one person say, fuck that shit, I'm going to get a microscope?
Yeah.
Now, what happens if I take a piece of skin and I put it under a microscope? There's another world in there, right? But it takes one person to understand that there's something more there and believe that he could actually find something there and discover something that could change more things from that point on. That's what the problem with most people are. We're not designed to we're not programmed to think more ahead. We're programmed to think what's in front of us. And that's why our life stays like that.
Do you think
lack of vision,
yeah. Well, do you think that in the inner cities right now there is a lack of financial literacy?
Come on, bro. I asked the average person, Do you know what credit is? They don't even know what credit is. Like, for example, everybody thinks that to be successful, you need to have money. No, to be successful, you got to have a business plan. You got to understand what credit is, have a decent credit, and at least know how to produce income. But how do you do that? You got to do that by understanding where you're going. You know, a lot of people, they like, yo, let's do this. Oh, but, you know, I don't know. It's going to take me to do it. Once that person starts with that, you already know that person is not ready. They're failing.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're building the challenges without even taking the ride. Listen, my life hasn't been easy. I've taken tons of I've taken tons of baths in projects that I've done that I've drowned in. So what? To me, that's just a lesson. But what? The next one I'm doing, I'm not starting from scratch. I'm starting from the point I failed. And that's what's important. A lot of people are afraid to fail, and that's the biggest mistake, because keeping people afraid is actually what people want.
It's a program.
The more I program you to need from me, the more I own you. So what's the point? Are you gonna tell me that you're gonna take your life not believing yourself and you're gonna let somebody else control it and tell you what life you need to live? Nah. That's right there. That's where everything starts wrong.
You have to make your own path.
You know,
And
like you got teachers, and I'm not saying nothing negative about teachers, but the average teacher, even themselves, they don't got their lives financially straight. But they're telling you that this is what you need to do so your life could be great. Then why isn't your life great? How can you tell me how to be a millionaire when you're still chasing $70,000 a year?
It's hypocritical.
To me, it's like just doesn't make any sense. Now, I would respect you more and say, you know what? I understand that this is the beginning part that you need. This is the seeds. And then you have to put the effort in so it could grow into something else. But the average teacher, because they're students and they're younger, they make them feel like they don't got nothing to offer. And that they're the ones on top of the world. You see?
It's a systematic mind control.
Well, look at this. I'm the one with no diploma donating to a high school for kids to go to college. And I'm the one with no diploma that donated a whole recording studio to a high school. Where's the government?
Yeah.
Why didn't they put the studio in?
I think it's because they want to keep that mentality of the employed being owned. Give them enough, just a little bit. Here, take your tax refund. Go buy more stuff that's going to help us make more money. Here's a stimulus so you don't have to get off your butt and work. Stay stuck in the project. Stay stuck with the mentality of Section 8. Stay stuck with the mentality of getting aid from the government. But it's meant to keep them there for a reason. And they don't want you to think...
It's suppressing the mindset of a young person, and it's stealing their ambition. That's all you're really doing.
Yeah.
If I take your ambition away, I own you. But let's you know what? Let's take 100 kids from the hood, and let's teach them how to make money, and let's turn them into millionaires within 10 years. You know what's going to happen out of those 100 kids? I bet you half of them are going to run for office.
Yeah, and that will disrupt
their little bullshit plan.
Yeah, the plan they got.
How do you have certain people in power for so long, and yet they're the greatest one, but yet they still don't do nothing with their lives? And yet everybody praises them like they're the best. What are the best at? What are you so good at? Mm-hmm. What have you done? You see, everybody's life is on some. You see, that's why thinking outside the box has gotten me to where I'm at. And the good thing about it is that I put myself in a situation that, you know, I'm always going to want the best, and I'm always going to work for the best. But I'm going to take my people, and I'm going to teach them to take their neighborhoods and turn those neighbors into the best. Let's look at the typical culture, right? And I'm telling you because I come from that. Our people were in the corners. They were fighting for corners. They were killing themselves for corners.
That they didn't even own.
That they didn't even own. And what happened? Cultural, Jewish people,
they brought
tons of respect. They let our people kill over corners where nobody wants to live anymore. Our people burns buildings down. The property goes down to where nobody wants to buy it. And they come and buy it for pennies on the dollar.
That's what happened in the Bronx.
They flip it around. Yeah. And now they're charging $4,000 or $5,000 in rent. And none of our people could afford to live there. Why? You think that was the right system that we were programmed to live? No, we are programmed to be a menace because we give you enough, but not enough. So what do our people do? The moment one person makes $1, the other person wants to take it away. Yeah. See, I want to change that. I respect the Jewish people by a lot, but those are my mentors. But I'm using that knowledge to educate my people. You see, when I buy my buildings, I buy them to create opportunities for my people. And when I take my employees, and I could take a bartender from making peanuts to now making $1,500, $2,000, $3,000, I got a bartender making more than a professor.
Wow.
But now I'm also teaching them, don't go buy fucking Gucci. Don't go buy this. Don't go buy that.
Invest in yourself.
Invest in yourself. Invest in your business minds. Invest into property. And next thing you know, invest in your own city. You see, it's easy to make, like, for example, I could live anywhere I want. I already surpassed every financial level I wanted to surpass. Mm-hmm. I could live anywhere. Why do I still live in Elizabeth? It's easy to make money and leave. But as a Latino, as a Colombian, I want my soup. I want my empanada.
Yeah. You want to feel your culture.
I want to be able to walk down the street and see my people. But I'm going to just now think that I'm no longer Latino. I think I'm just going to be better than somebody else and go live in the mountains. What about my Latin barbecue? That I want to play my music. You think I want my neighbor saying, why we have this guy next door playing music too loud? Listen, our culture is very different. And we only understand our culture.
Absolutely.
So I'm not going to take my money and put it in a town to make somebody else's town better while I'm milking my city. I'm going to make my money in my city. And yes, I'm going to live good. But I'm going to invest it in my city.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to change my city.
And I think a powerful thing that goes with that, you living in Elizabeth, is the fact that people see you and they're like, oh my God, he's real. Like, I'm talking about for the young kids that aspire to be great. You can be touched. You can be spoken to. And they see, oh, this guy's not in Miami. This guy doesn't live in whatever. He lives here. And I can actually see him. And you don't know how many people you're inspiring that are 12, 11, 10 years old, that one day they're going to have their testimony saying, man, I seen Eddy G do it.
Listen, everybody could do it, man. Everybody could do it. We just gotta be able to program our people that they need to believe in themselves and that everything is possible. Listen, if you keep telling somebody you can't, not everybody's designed to say, yes, I can. Because a lot of times them growing up, they have been in a household maybe with no leadership. Maybe their parents have been part of the system. Maybe the parents have been working so hard that the parents not around enough hours in the day to be able to be a role model to the kids. But you can't blame those parents, because if they're not out working, how are they going to feed their family? So somebody has to break that cycle, or somebody has to start to break that cycle. We have to start making people uncomfortable thinking that the way of the life that they keep living is the one to live. Nah, we could all make money. We don't need somebody telling us how we have to make it. And when somebody wants to open up a business, we all need to go and support it.
Everybody collectively.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen, like one of the programs that I want to build for next year, I want to take $1 million of my own money. I want to do the concept of Shark Tank, but with kids. Awesome. I want you to give me a business plan. If you don't know about business, I'm going to teach you how to understand business. And if I see that your business plan is solid, I'll put up the money.
That's beautiful.
And on top of that, not only put up the money, guide you every step of the way. And the day you open it, I'm going to make sure that the world knows that you're a kid trying to make something of yourself. So everybody goes and supports them. Now imagine if I could take 10 kids and open up a business for them. Imagine it within 5 years they become millionaires.
Oh, that's
and now that money keeps coming back in, keeps feeding the program. So I could take you with $100,000 and you could turn that into $1 million. But then that profit, I don't want it back. Put it back into the pot. Right. But now there's no longer 100,000. Now I got $1 million to work with. And I got $1 million from there and $1 million from here. Now we could take that 100,000 and give it to 50 kids. And in 5 years, those 50 become millionaires. Now we're making 500 kids the third time around. That's what it's all about. The problem is that everybody thinks that it cannot be done. But it's because most of the people are programmed to understand that, oh, it's just too hard to do it. Why is it hard? It's never going to be hard if you try. And if you fail trying, at least you tried.
Absolutely.
But the worst part about it, people are afraid to fail if there's never even taken the first step.
Well, I think anything that's worth having is going to be
Is that my
hard
water?
regardless. No, it's behind your son right there. Everything that's worth having is going to be hard regardless. But I think people are. I do believe they're scared of failing, but I believe they're scared of the hard work because they emulate the end result. They don't emulate the process.
You know, the problem is that even our own music is a problem. Our own culture is a problem. You know, we celebrate, like the other day, I was listening to that song, from Jay-Z, Story of OJ. Okay?
Credit.
But forget the credit. Just listen to the whole song. And if you start listening to the song, it says the word nigga a bunch of times, but it's because of the way he was trying to open up his own people's eyes, and people somehow they just heard that, but they didn't hear the other part, which is the message. Mm-hmm. But that song was big to the people that understood where he was at now. The people that just want the noise and the and all that ignorance, they never paid attention to it. Not realizing that if they listen to the song,
there's a message,
and they've actually followed the message, the guy's actually trying to get his people to think outside the box. And it's not rocket scientist. Everything I've been saying, everything he says in the song is exactly what it is. That's it. You could listen. He could, when he says he could have bought, but he could have bought a house in Dumbo. And you know how I feel right now? Dumbo.
Yeah. He's even telling you the mistakes he's made, and he's like, "This is the blue. I'm trying to give you $1 million worth of game for $9.99." He's telling you that for a $10 CD, I am teaching you a financial literacy course.
Exactly.
But people are still programmed.
Because it's a good message, it's no longer good for them. But we'll listen to music, and get me wrong, I'm not criticizing anybody's style of music, but it's just like some people say, if you want to buy ignorance, somebody's gonna sell it to you, and that's what it is. Jay-Z came out with that song, and the song was not a big song, even though the album was incredible. Yeah, but it never made it to become one of those wow, or at least the info what I know.
Well, because ignorance sells more than
exactly. But you talk about Bobby Shmurda. I'm not gonna knock the kid down, but let's be realistic. Just talk about the fucking song. Mm-hmm. Killed somebody a week ago, and then you did this, and then you did that, and everybody's and everybody was dancing to it, and rocking it, and singing it oh my god, this is the shit. Yeah, really? You think that's the message that I want my kid to hear? Absolutely. I don't want that for him. I prefer him to listen to house music that says nothing, and let him make his own decision. Exactly. But we're making it cool to think that sending the wrong message. And all we're doing is suppressing more of our people with the music that we're putting out. And that's where the problem is. We should be uplifting people, because the saddest part about it is that people are more programmed to be followers than to be leaders. But then the ones that are leaders are telling people, go be stupid. Yeah. And you'll be okay with that.
It's a blind leading the blind.
Exactly. Yeah. But you know why? Because that person figures that by saying something stupid, there's a financial gain to it. So they're more happy of the gain, not realizing that they're actually damaging millions of young minds.
And you're setting back generations. Go ahead, buddy.
So, you know how you can, you know how you can buy stuff and have it for yourself. Why can't you just make it? Why buy it when you can make it?
Well, that's exactly what your father preaches here. You give people something that you believe in, and eventually they'll believe in, and that can be a return on investment to everybody else.
I make these costumes for myself, and they have all these other so big really good quality suits, but I just make them myself. I like to make them.
But you know why? Because you're a visionary. Yeah. And you think that, you know what? I could take this and I could make it better. And you know what? That's the reason why we listen. For an example, look at Einstein, look at the Teslas. all considered to be crazy motherfuckers, right?
Yeah. And look, they're the most successful right now.
No.
Yeah. No.
How we living today is thanks to them.
Yeah.
There won't be no
Jobs.
microphones. There won't be no light. There won't be any of that if it wasn't for people thinking outside the box.
But let me ask you a question, because you're bringing that up. Why, as Americans, as society, we tend to downplay the geniuses and say they're crazy, but we buy all their stuff? For example, everybody says Steve Jobs is crazy. Everybody probably has an iPhone in this room. Everybody says Kanye West is crazy. He's the most, chartable artist right now. Everybody said that Tesla's crazy. He's about to buy Twitter. So it's like, but why do we glorify and beat them up at the same time? And do you
know
go
why?
through that too?
Of course. But you know what? That's what I call frustrated fans. You see, the moment that you accept that somebody's doing something right, it's also a reflection of the shit that you didn't do.
They're mad at themselves.
So they're mad. It's easier to criticize you and put you down, even if it's just internally for myself. Because it's like I'm giving myself a satisfaction that I did something. Well, like for example, everybody's used the famous thing, he got lucky.
No.
Really? You think luck walks people through my doors? If I didn't give you a product to come to, then you wouldn't come. Then the word luck maybe would have played at that time, but it didn't. I gotta come up with a product that people want to buy. So it's not luck, it's no longer luck. But what happens is that the average person would criticize that hard work and call it luck. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is that person is kind of admitting that he did what I should have done.
It's projective identification. Yeah, they
That's all it
identify with themselves not doing something, they're projecting that onto you.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
But you know what? If they accepted it, then it's like, damn, he did it and I did it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more like a satisfaction, a temporary satisfaction.
It's like a
from
little,
themselves.
let me just flick them like this.
Yeah.
Even though it's not going to hurt you at all.
Or ask questions, learn something, man. Like they should be learning something. That's what they should be doing.
But if they do that, then they are accepting it. And they're
And, they
not
don't,
going to
and the
accept it.
ego will not let them
And they're not going to accept
be like,
it.
Eddie, can I talk to you, man? The ego won't let them happen.
Listen, I have taken a lot of people that has worked with me. I brought them under my wing. And today, they have their own businesses. People that were my employees, now they are entrepreneurs. But you know what? It was like, to them, working with me is like skipping the line when you go to a club, You know, there's a line down the block, but there's that one person you could call and it could help you skip the line. But then you know what? The people on the line, they're like, who the fuck that guy think he is? Oh, of course, or if it's a girl, like the other girl's gonna say, oh, she's probably screwing the owner.
Right.
You understand?
It's that crabs in a bucket mentality.
Yeah, but they don't realize that maybe that person that I'm skipping the line probably helps me out on marketing. Maybe that person, maybe helped me get a discount with a product that I need for my business. Or maybe that person plays a different role. Maybe she works for a hotel. So when I bring my guests in, I got a place to send them. So people don't realize that. It's easier to create the story than to actually admit that there might be some other reason behind it of why that person is there.
Yeah.
So you know what, bro? But that's just part of life. And again, those are the people that make people like me want to work harder. Those what I call the frustrated fans.
Frustrated fans. That's a beautiful way to look at it, man. Because again, it's them being upset at themselves, but you're still gonna do what you're gonna do. And you know what? It's gonna continue to give you that steam to push forward. And at the end of the day, look what you're doing, man. Your return on investment, not financially, emotionally, spiritually, that you're giving to people. You're changing people's lives. This is what teachers in school couldn't do. You're doing it without a degree.
Well, it's not that they couldn't do it, because you know what? There have been teachers that, just by speaking to you about certain things about life, they open up your minds for other things. So I wouldn't necessarily saying that teachers cannot teach you anything. I believe that, teachers should be designed to get you to a certain point of your life. But at least they should also teach you how to believe in yourself. Why, for some teachers, it's very difficult to teach that? Because if they would have believed in themselves, they wouldn't be teachers.
It's that projection again. Yeah. It's like a revolving door of just morbid mentality versus somebody coming in there and being a beam of light.
And remember one thing too. I'm not saying that a teacher lifestyle is because they just took it as a shortcut. No, because you know what? I also do know a lot of teachers that they do it just that to them money is not the issue. They're just generally happy to be a teacher. But I will say that from every 100 people, maybe 15 are motivated by passion, not thinking about a dollar sign. But the other 85 are all financially driven.
I think it's because they have the term that says if you do what you love for a living, you'll never work a day in your life, right?
I work every day, but I never work.
But it doesn't feel like it, right?
Never.
Because you followed the passion.
Yeah.
And again, not frustrated, but it's funny how the people that are frustrated project that onto you, and you just ignored that feeling because you just followed your passion.
100%.
It's that simple.
100%.
So, how does that passion continue to this day for you where, successful owner of many businesses, real estate? What is that next level of passion like that you want to transfer into, whether it's business or into the community? What does that look like?
I believe that I planted a garden already, is what I call. I planted a garden because my garden, there's all different types of things coming out. There's all types of fruits coming out. I believe that I did enough to a certain extent that everybody that I have brought under my wing, I think they're already designed to carry on everything that I built. And that, to me, the most important thing was build everything, have financial freedom, and give other people the torch so they could continue with that. And I think I'm 5 years away from that.
Were you put in that position?
Yeah, I think at that point, like I want to take whatever days I have left after that, if God blesses me with more of that, and I want to dedicate that to my family. I want to dedicate it to my kid. I want to be able to, help my elders, become that next young entrepreneur, that's going to follow my dream. But I also have to be very careful how much money I allow, because you see, money's an evil. Everybody think that to be rich is to have money. I know a lot of rich, poor people. And it's a very strong statement because a lot of rich people blind themselves by their bank account. But then they stop being human. They start being dicks.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I don't want to be. And I want to make sure that if my kids are not ready, I will pray to God that everything falls apart and they will have to start from scratch. Because starting from scratch might end up being their biggest blessing at that time.
Absolutely.
You take a kid and you dump, 50,000, 30,000 a week for his pocket. Imagine you never having money and now making 30, 50, 100,000 a week for your pocket. What do you do with that money? You know what's going to happen? They're going to start celebrating. Celebrating starts attracting a lot of the wrong people. And then that's when everything falls apart. That's when the drugs come in. Mm-hmm. That's when the lifestyles come in. That's when the cars come in. And then they just don't understand how they got there. But they'll do things that would eventually destroy them as human beings. You think I would want to see my son one day, God forbid, getting into a car accident because he got out of one of my bars drunk and wasn't smart enough to understand that you're not supposed to drive while you're drinking? You see, it's those little things that I worry about when it comes to money, because money is very evil. Money is not for everybody. They will teach you how to keep your credit, but nobody ever teaches you how to respect money.
Exactly. Yeah, and money actually magnifies the person you really are.
Of course.
So if you're like a scumbag, you're going to be more of a scumbag. If you're a great person, you're going to be a better person. If you have a good heart, you're going to have a bigger heart.
Yeah.
And I think in your case, you've used the success you've had in your businesses to inspire others, and you've grown a bigger heart, I feel, since you've been successful in my opinion, you are you made the nightlife, you're like the 5-star Michelin chef of nightlife. you were able
and
to.
I'm just getting started.
And you always say that every time I look at your stories or I look at what you're doing. But I mean, you go down the line: Coco Bongo, Barcode, Lit 21, Mambo's, Show Lounge, The Garden, Crust Pizza, The Lobby, Chupitos, Barcode, NYC coming soon, Garden NY. I mean, this, and there's more. I'm just off the top. So how do you sustain that?
Now imagine this. And for every one of those places, how many people's lives are going to change? How many jobs? Every place needs a manager. Every place needs a chef. Every place needs maintenance. Every place needs all of that.
You're creating jobs.
My only thing is create it right from the beginning so it could sustain itself and it could last longer. Now, once it lasts longer, it's creating job security. But if I give you a job security, I want you to make real money with me. You see, my goal is not for you to come in and just to go home with a paycheck. My job is for you to pick up a paycheck and say,
I want
wow,
more. Yeah.
Is this what I'm making here? Like, yo, this place is gonna change my life.
Yeah.
But then what happens? They go buy Gucci. They go buy, and don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing anybody.
You hate Gucci? No, just
No. you know, listen, bro, this right here is a $10 shirt. This right here is what, $30 jeans. The sneakers, somebody gave them to me. But that doesn't make who I am. That doesn't make, if you notice me, if you know of me, you know that I'm not a person, I'm not a flashy person. This is the closest thing to jewelry that I have, which is, $800-900 watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, everybody wants to have or show what they could barely afford, and then they become a slave to brands, but yet not realizing that to buy a house, all you need is $10,000, $15,000. So if you're making an average of $1,500 a week and you could live on $5, why don't you save those $1,000? All it takes is 15 weeks to save the down payment to a house. That within a year or two, if you would have done it at the right time, you would have made an additional $100,000 for yourself. Yeah. But then you would have taken that $100,000 and you would have taken it and invested into a business. And now you're making $4,000, $5,000 a week. And now you went from doing that to now making $250,000 a year or $300,000 a year or $50,000 a year on just passive income. You know what I'm saying? People do not understand finances, and that's where financing is very important in schools. But how can a teacher teach about finances if they themselves don't got the shit straight?
And this is another point, another caveat I want to add to that. Not just being slaves to the cars or the money, but I feel that social media in itself is a drug that people are slaves to, because they're positioning themselves to have nice things on social media. But if you see their home or if you see where they live, it's a mirage.
My brother, it definitely is a mirage.
Do you think that's a big part of the problem as well? Besides the music and besides the clothing?
Name me one thing on social media that's real.
Nothing. It's all an illusion.
Everybody on social media is acting.
It's playland.
If you were able to give Oscars to everybody who showed something off on social media, everybody would have a fucking Oscar. Everybody's an actor. You see a girl. She takes the pictures. The first thing she does is dedicate hours to finding those perfect filters. Why? Because it makes you look better? Then what happens when I just look at you 2 minutes later right in front of you? Where's the filter? So you see, everybody's living a lie. And the lie is what keeps. But for every time you're living somebody's life, right? And you're living that lie, how many commercials are now on social media when there used to be none back in the days?
Yeah, because
now everything is a commercial. So for every time, and the moment you mention something, it starts popping up on social media.
Yeah.
But what? It's always about brands. It's always about makeup. It's always about this. And again, I'm cool with people living a life because that's the life they want to live. Cool. Again, you want to buy ignorance? Guess who's going to sell it to you? Me. But do I want to? I prefer to sell you knowledge.
Yeah.
I prefer to sell you something, that would make you a better person. I don't want to see you throwing your money away on stupid shit. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm in a business that I sell liquor. I sell a $30, $40 bottle for $200-$300, right? So I'm making good money on it. But I wouldn't be in that business if people were not being stupid. So in one way, it's like I'm hurting myself. But in the other way, you know what? I'm at a point that I don't care.
Have you ever cared? Have you ever felt guilt for doing that?
I feel that for everybody who doesn't care, I'm building an opportunity for somebody who does. So I don't feel bad. Imagine if people would not follow me and want to be in a club impressing somebody else, I might have never taken those. I would have never saved those 15,000 to give a kid. You understand?
Yeah.
So, and as money's coming in, I'm also buying buildings, and I'm buying buildings in my neighborhoods. And if I get to change a neighborhood, and I get to change mindsets, and I get to create opportunities, and I get to create leaders out of that, then it was money well spent.
And you changed the narrative.
Let me give you an example. Marijuana was legal for so long, right? Why is it legal now? Because it's a business. And they know that if they stop it, they can't. So they might as well tax it.
And make money off of it.
It's 50%, 52% goes to the state. So if I make $1 million in 1 week in marijuana sales, 52% of that goes straight to them. With the remaining 48%, I have to pay the product, replace the product.
Brick and mortar.
I have to pay the rent, the electricity, the gas, the insurance, the security plan, the whole thing. So the profit margin is maybe what? Maybe 5%, 8%. But these motherfuckers just took 52%. You understand? So where's the right and where's the wrong here?
It's like the government's being hypocritical to a certain extent. We can do it, but you can't.
The government's always been hypocritical. Always. They steal your ambition. They feed you
bull crap,
and then they want you to buy it at their price.
And
then when you make money on it, you'll get penalized for doing it.
It's a perfect system for them to stay rich.
Yeah. So.
Go ahead, buddy.
You know how you can turn little things into big things, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you see here?
A quarter.
Imagine how many people imagine how many people can be saved from a quarter.
Endless.
You know how you could do that? I'm going to tell you real quick how I would do that. If I could take this quarter, and with this quarter, it gives me enough money to buy 10 seeds, and I could plant 10 seeds, and out of that, I could grow food. I just fed a whole neighborhood off of a quarter. So that's what vision's about. The average person will go and put that in a quarter machine and play some video game.
Or get a bubble gum.
A bubble gum, and that's it. That's the difference.
I think what you just hit on the head, and God bless you, Gabriel, you are just going to be even greater than your dad. You already got the vision. But I think what you just hit on is that people look for instant gratification and not the long game.
Exactly.
And I think your life in business has been a demonstration of look what happens if you play the long game. Look what you can have if you can have a little patience and a little faith.
I make drug dealer money, but legit.
Exactly, yeah.
I don't have to go stand in the corner. I don't have to go hurt anybody. But I could promise, I could put any drug dealer in front of me and let me see your money. And let's compare with my money. The difference is that I can enjoy my money. You can't enjoy yours.
You gotta hide it. It's so true, man.
So what do I tell anybody out there? You could take what you think is going to be the short way out is only going to be your long way in. Because something's going to happen. You're eventually going to get caught, and it's going to bite you in the ass. And now you become part of the system. And then when you become part of the system, anything that makes you money, they're not going to let you be part of.
Yeah.
Because you already got a criminal record.
You got the scar. That's it.
So that's what they do. They scar you. They scar the people. They scar the youth. Because they take away the opportunities. And then the youth thinks that to get out, they have to do something stupid. And out of 10 kids, maybe 9 they're gonna fall. 1 makes it out. So what's the point?
And that in itself is a business. Jail system is a business.
50 Cent, hood, streets. Jay-Z, hood, streets. Now they sing about it.
Yeah.
But for every one of them, how many dropped?
Oh, 100, thousands. You know, we're just seeing the lottery picks.
Exactly.
We're not seeing the truth. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's the lottery
and if you
pick.
look at a lot of these young rappers, they're falling because they're trying to become the next Jay-Z or the 50 Cent. So they don't know how to get the message across because our youth is so educated to listening to ignorance that the only way these people get listened to is by singing ignorance. But now they're not only singing it, now they also have to live it, so they could be legit. You see?
It's all the program, like we said. It's all a program, and I'm thankful that you were able to get out of that at such a young age, selling the empanadas and choosing not to sell drugs.
Listen, the streets will eat you alive. I got to see a lot of my friends get locked up. I got to see a lot of my friends get shot, and I got to see a lot of my friends just skip town and never see them again, because now they want it. So now they're living the whole life, the rest of their life hidden. And in order not to do it, they have to give themselves in. But now they're going to throw away 10 years of their life. What was the point?
It's hustling backwards.
Exactly.
Huh.
But because we are programmed to think that we cannot make it out.
That's the only choice we have. That's what.
Exactly. Imagine if everybody tells you the only way to make it out is to do something stupid. The chances are you're going to get caught. And what was the point?
Because you're tricked into thinking that's the only way.
Exactly.
It's an inclusive mind state.
Listen, if you saved $20 a day and you manage your credit cards correctly, like people tell me, oh, I got a $10,000 limit. How much do you on your credit card? No, like $9,900, but I still got like another $200 left.
You got no debt to written.
First of all, people don't understand
debt to credit ratio.
What it works. Well, how the meaning of that is. Mm-hmm. Listen, you shouldn't be spending more than 10-15% of that credit card, because the moment you're already considered a high risk. So if you're in the 700, you're gonna go drop down to your low 600s.
And on top of that, you're paying the bank's interest on interest on interest.
And then what happens when you're about to go to college on enrollment day? What's the first thing that you see when you go into enrollment?
Credit card companies.
And a shitload of credit card companies.
Let's get them in debt.
And everybody has credit cards. And everybody's going to qualify. And what happens? They're qualifying for high interest, and they're qualifying for money that these kids will never know how to pay back.
They'll give them blank checks.
Exactly.
And then that $500 Gucci shirt turns into a $1,000 Gucci shirt, because they'll never pay the interest.
And then you know what they're going to have? Bad credit after that. So now when they go buy a car, instead of maybe getting a 0% interest or a 2 or 3% interest,
it's 10.
Now they're getting 10, 15%. Why? Because they wouldn't qualify. So that's you program the masses to fail. So when they start understanding money, it's like they're digging themselves out of a hole, but the hole is so deep that they're not gonna get out of it no time soon. So they're going to keep you in the hook for the next 10 years. People start getting their credits fixed somewhere in the mid-30s.
That's insane.
But they started failing at the 20s.
At the 20s.
Why did it take you to your mid-30s to do that? Because nobody was telling you what you shouldn't do. They were telling you, no, you qualify. Come on, sir. Of course you can. Here's your credit card.
There's no leadership either in the house. I mean, we come from single-parent households, but we're the anomaly. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. You know how sometimes people tell you you can use like a quarter, what I'm holding right now, for one thing, spending. You can use this for another thing, like playing the guitar, like a guitar pick.
Mm-hmm.
And at school, every day at school, during recess, I see kids playing baseball. They don't have bats hitting it. They use hockey sticks. And what I learned is that you can use anything for anything.
And you know what I learned now you're talking about that? Remember, see, I grew up in the project. We had no games in the project. You know what I did? I did a car wash at the age of 12. I was in the fire hydrant in the summer. There's no pools. It's all fire hydrants. You open it up and that's it. And I remember one day I was in the street. My friend, we're all hanging out in the fire hydrant. My friend's father passes by. Hey, wash my car. I give you $2. I'm like, yo, we're here all day long doing nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do a car wash. Bro, I took a marker, a big piece of cardboard, and I said, car wash. $2 with soap, $1 without soap. We went up to the house. Everybody brought down towels. We brought out buckets, kitchen soap, and we did a car wash. By the end of the summer, we raised more than $6,000. Wow. We bought games. We bought our own basketball court, everything. And that's how we did it when I was a kid.
And just like your son said, and just like you're saying with the car wash, that's called resourcefulness. Sometimes the people, frustrated fans, they quit too early in the game, and that's where the frustration comes. But it's because they weren't resourceful enough.
Yep.
Me and my partner run a fence company. They told me I was crazy to start a fence business. And look where we're at now. We started with one little truck. Now we got a fleet. But it took years and years and years to like now I'm comfortable where we can invest in other things and grow even further. But imagine if I would have said, no, you're right. I'm going to go work at McDonald's.
That's like, but that's what
You
I
know?
say. It's like planting the seed. If you plant the seed, listen, God will always bless you, man. As long as you're not hurting nobody. And as long as you put in that work, you're going to be blessed. We're all blessed. Bro, we wake up in the morning, you're already blessed.
You're rich already.
Yeah, like, yo, chill.
Yeah.
Puppy,
Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah. So, as you were saying, you can be resourceful. Like, and you know how I said I can, you know how I said I can make a whole, like, gear of armor and stuff like
Yep.
of suits and stuff?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you know the YouTube channel Hacksmith, right?
Mm-hmm.
They make stuff from, they like rip it from a comic book page and just bam, voila, in real life. Well, I can turn a flashlight into a lightsaber that does not hurt anyone. I'm planning on doing that. Just get a little light from Five Below. It would only
Don't
be
give
like
the secret out.
$5. It would only be $5.
But you're being a visionary and you're being resourceful. You're finding a means to an end.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beauty of it. And that's what your father does every day.
Yeah.
He finds the means to an end. Go ahead.
And I want to turn a flashlight into a lightsaber out of a paper towel, a paper towel roll and paper. with
Or
a
you could take this
flashlight.
water bottle, take this plastic off, put the flashlight here, and if you put like a little plastic on top of it, now you have another one. You see? It's quick thinking.
endless.
It's quick thinking.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. Real quick, Eddie, what give me something. What was the worst experience you ever had in business? What was your biggest failure?
Wow. I'm gonna give you the one. It was my biggest failure, but my biggest gift. So, oh no. No. I could say pa los rumberos.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you.
I'm
why.
intrigued.
So, remember, I did the lease when I was 18 years old. Now, I signed. You know, when you're young, you know, you're so eager to get into something that you don't really pay attention to what you're signing, right?
Let's just get it over with. Let's do it. Yeah.
So, when I got the lease, I got a 10-year lease, but it was some 5 and 5. So I had to notify them when I wanted to continue my remaining part for the second term.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what did this guy do? I'm here 4.5 years later. I'm remodeling. I spent every penny I got remodeling this place. A friend of mine comes to me and tells me, "Yo, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm remodeling, bro. It's gonna be 5 years in a few months from now." He's like, "Bro, they're not gonna renew your lease." What do you mean they're not gonna renew my lease?
Wow.
No, they need the space, and since you didn't notify them, they just called me up to put up a sign. They want me to start fabricating it and have it ready. So for March, as soon as you're out, they're gonna install it because he used to have a sign company.
Right.
And brother, my world fell apart.
Oh my God.
Because now I have to figure out how I'm gonna make this thing work. I have no more money. So now I go to the landlord. I say, "Hey, I need to renew my lease." He's like, "No, Edwin, we're not going to renew your lease because you didn't notify us and we need the space." So now it was real. Before it was a comment from a friend. Now it's me confirming it that I'm really asked out.
Right.
So that happened to me in late November of 2000 actually. So at the time, you were only able to move a license 1,500 feet from where the license was located. And you could only move 1,500 feet in any direction, but only 1,500 feet. Guess what? There was no place that I knew of that was available within 1,500 feet to rent. I had gotten myself involved. At that time, there was a hurricane where DR got hit hard and Puerto Rico. So they did a fundraiser, and I met some politicians, and they needed my help. I took a stage, I had the club, so all the community came together and we did this event. So I became very good friends with this one guy. And I called my friend up. I said, bro, can you believe what happened to me? And he said, I told him they're not renewing my lease, and I don't have nowhere to move this place. He tells me, you must be the luckiest motherfucker. Because what I'm about to tell you, you're not going to believe it. I told him, what happened? Well, can you believe that the location where Barcode is, before Cocobong, it was a furniture store.
Okay.
And they said the guy from the furniture store is selling the building to these developers that they want to put up a senior citizens building. And we denied them because of your club.
Wow.
And that had just happened 2 days before. So they denied them. So once you get denied, the project does not come back to life. It's dead. It's dead on the water. That's it. And he gave me the number. He got me the number of the property owner. So when I went to the property owner, I told him, listen, I was told that you have this place available. He says, yeah, but I'm only selling. I'm not leasing. I'm like, look, what if I make you an offer that you're gonna be happy with? Look, right now the rent in this kind of building, you're probably looking around maybe $4,000 a month in rent. What if I pay you $5,000 a month in rent? Now here I am negotiating with no fucking money. I'm broke.
From the hip.
But I'm not telling him I'm broke.
Right.
So he says, well, I'm not interested. I want to sell. I said, how much are you selling the building for? He says, well, I'm selling for $375. I said, I'll give you a better one. Give me a lease for 10 years. I'll pay you $5,000. You're gonna make $1,000 more than anybody would pay you.
Wow.
But you got to give me the right of first refusal to buy the building at any time I want for $475, $100,000 more than what they were gonna give you. Now he's like, wait a minute, I'm gonna make another $100,000 within 10 years.
It's a no-brainer for him.
It's a no-brainer.
And you're betting on yourself.
Yeah,
Hard.
I have no choice.
You were just like this.
I have
it's
no
either
choice.
this or bust.
That's it.
Yeah, no, I love that. No, that's powerful, man.
So the guy tells me, cool. Now, all that negotiation took about 2 or 3 weeks, back and forth. Now it's New Year's. New Year's has always been a blessing for me. Remember, New Year's, there's no closing time. You can stay open as late as you want. And remember, it was 2 months of rent, 1 month security. I had to come up with $15,000, and I'm broke, right? So we made enough money on New Year's Eve and the weekend, and I spoke to a few of my employees at the time. I told them, can you guys donate your salary for 2 weeks? Because I need to gather this money. If not, we're completely out of business. Now, back then, what was a paycheck? It was like 200 and change or whatever. Like they weren't making real money.
150.
So they said, yeah, we'll give you that. We'll give you that. And between the money that the employees gave me, the sales that we did, and the money that it has, the cash flow, the flow money, it was enough to gather the $15,000. Now I give this guy the $15,000. Now I got the keys. I still don't got no money to put this place together, right? This is why when you do things in life, you gotta do them right, because you never know how it bites you in the ass, how it could save your ass, right? So at the time, the guy who sold me the business, he didn't transfer the license into my name. We were somehow partners, but I wasn't really a partner. So I told him, listen, we need to relocate. And, I lost the lease. And then he tells me, well, what's going on? I'm like, I just finished spending all my money. And I showed him on remodeling this place, but I have no money. So I need to transfer the license from this location to that location, so I could go and find myself an investor. He's like, well, how much you need? And I told him, well, I think it's gonna be like between 150 and 180,000. Mm-hmm. He says, look, Edwin, I've been in the bar business for too long. I wanted to get out, but we'll talk tomorrow. He leaves, come back the next day. He says, look, I'm going to take 50% of the business. Here's $180,000. Gives me a bag with $180,000 in cash. Go do it.
Wow.
And that's how I was able. That motherfucking changed my life.
That 180,000 changed
Yes.
up to where you are today. You changed your whole life, right?
Of course.
Wow.
I lost everything.
And he came in. Is he still your partner to this day?
He's like my father.
Wow.
This guy's a father to me. That's the only man that I could say in life that's like my father figure. Because so now when we became partners, he used to pick me up every Monday, but he owns a lot of other businesses. So he'd be like, yeah, I'll pick you up. We go pick up the money from the club, and then we'll go to the office, do the books. But then before that, just come with me to all the places. So he would pick me up at 8, 9 in the morning, and I wouldn't get back to like 2, 3 in the afternoon.
Wow.
But now all those hours is like sitting next to the biggest college professor.
You soaked
He
in a
taught
lot.
me everything. He taught me about business, about life, everything. So to me, this guy's like my father. Like a lot of things that I say today, or the way I behave on the business side, is thanks to what I learned from him. Wow. That's like another. Like there's a few people in my life that I could say changed my life. Like, for an example, if I would have never met that girl in Colombia, I probably would have never met Elizabeth, right? If my boy would have never told me about what was coming, maybe I wouldn't had enough time to figure out what I was going to do. And if this guy would have never invested in me, I probably would have gotten as far as getting to the location, but not enough to be in business. Because remember,
To suppress it.
I'm only turning 23 at the time.
Yeah, you're still young, too.
So I started at 18, but 5 years later, I'm 23. So what am I going to do at 23? I still got to get you to believe in me. Because all you knew of me was this guy. He owns a club, but he owns this old little salsa club. It wasn't a big thing. It was not about, my biggest night being packed was like $7,000 in sales. Like that was like, wow, I do $7,000 now. I feel like going to cry.
Yeah.
Because now you see the business at a different scope. But back then, that was like the world to me. So yeah, those human beings changed my life. Like those people were there at a specific time in my life that really marked it and say, if I don't think I would have surpassed that if this person wouldn't open the gate at the time,
Wow.
And that's how it was for me.
That's powerful, man. So to know that story to where you are now, the influence that man gave you,
Yeah.
and then how you took that into your business world now.
And look how
now
life
you're
is.
that person.
And now look at life is. Like that building I got kicked out from, I now own it.
Yeah. Which
So-
is now the most, in my opinion, I mean, obviously you know this too.
No, the
It
one that
is-
I got kicked out from.
the one for, really?
Yeah, I own
Oh.
that building now.
Look at that. Wow. And then you transfer Coco Bongo to probably the hottest destination club, Barcode.
And that's what people see right now. Like if only if they got to see. Like I wish I could put a USB in my head and just look at what.
Look
my
at all
vision
the
is.
struggles I had to go through.
No, look
the
what's
architecture.
coming. Like
Oh, there's more. So the Barcode right now is just the tip of the iceberg.
That's a temporary structure. What you're seeing right now, that's all garbage. That's all
This
temporary.
is all being transformed.
No, brother, if you go right now, you see that we knocked down everything that used to be in the back. Now we're building the back. Now all the steel starts coming in. Brother, we're going to be a place that's going to be for 7,000 people with a rooftop. I'm going to be able to have concerts for 5,000 people, legal occupancy indoor. Like, I'm not trying to chase that, $50 bottles or $100. I'm not doing that shit. Nah, bro. My thing is I'm going to go after all the big dogs.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go sit down with Live Nation, with Rock Nation. I'm gonna go sit down with Sony, Universal, with all the big dogs. Now that's what I'm doing.
Elevation, next level.
Exactly. I'm doing country music. I'm doing hip hop, Latin. I'm doing Indian music. Everything. I'm going after everybody who's a celebrity, who's a market. Like I want to be the nightclub theater for the entertainment.
I love that. And you're a destination now, and you're not even half of the vision of where you want to be at with
But
this.
I have an idea for you.
Wow.
I have an idea that you should put in Barcode.
What?
If you're gonna, when you said you're gonna be the theater of entertainment, when I heard those two words, theater, entertainment, all I was thinking about was movies.
Well, my life is a movie.
Your father's making a movie.
So here's what I think. You should have a movie theater in Barcode, like a big screen.
Well, I am gonna have. If we're
like you play movies in Mambo.
no, Bobby, listen to me. Trust me. What's coming is when you see what I got coming. That's when you'll be like, wow. So yeah, the layout of the new concept. You know, we're not just gonna have moving heads and lights. We're gonna lay out where we could have aerial shows. The stage is 65 feet wide by 40 feet deep. It's like a regular concert hall, stage. The rooftop is gonna have 2 elevators for 20 people at a time. At the top is gonna be from another 2,000 people. So we're now gonna build a pool on the rooftop as well.
Wow.
So it's a lot. Like there's a lot of moving parts. So people go to Barcode now. Like they see that structure that's by the pool and they get impressed by that, but they don't realize that all that's temporary.
It's gonna be even bigger.
All that's coming out.
You're creating performance art for nightlife.
Well, that's the whole thing. You just look at it like this. Just do this quick math. You want to do a concert at Prudential Center. It's costing you maybe $180,000, $200,000 to rent it out just to get the date. Then you need to spend the money on the production, which it could easily be another $100,000. Now you're $300,000 in, right? Then you still got the stage hands, and it's all union wages. Right?
So you gotta pay them by
that's
the
an
hour
additional
with every-
70, 80, 100,000. You're 400,000 in. You haven't even talked to the artist. You haven't even spent the money on the promotion. So what happens if you do this quick math? Let's say that the regular night, the average night is 12,000 people. The first 8,000 people is what it costs you to do the event. So what are you making money on 5,000 people?
5,000 people.
Well, what if you have no rental costs with me? You still don't get concessions at these venues. You don't get no liquor, no sales, no nothing. All
You get
is
nothing from the
door.
vendors. Yeah.
So all you get is door. I'm not gonna charge you a fee. I'm gonna just charge you $10 a head for every ticket you sell. So you sell 2,000 tickets, then that's all I'm making. $20,000 or whatever. But I get 100% of the liquor. Now you don't have no rental costs. You don't have no stage hands. So doing an event with me, you'll make money on the first ticket.
It's profitable for the artist too, as it is for you.
Now you're an artist. Now let's say you are, for an example, Osuna.
Little Dirk. That's like
Little Dirk.
Yeah.
All right, take the door. You're gonna ram it out anyway. What you want, a promoter to give you 120,000, or 5,000 people at the average ticket price of 150? Now you're generating $750,000 at the gate.
Oof.
But you were only gonna make 150. So I'm gonna be a promoter's dream
Absolutely.
for every genre.
And you got the space to fill it.
And not only I'm gonna have the space, I'm gonna have restaurants, more than multiple bars in that area. That's why you think I've been buying all those properties around me.
This
Every
is going to be
single
a
one of them.
one-stop shop.
Yes, that's the whole point.
Hotels? Are we talking hotels?
Right next door, we're building a hotel. Once you put in a hotel with 101 rooms, now you get governed by the state, not by the city.
Wow. How does that work with taxes?
Same shit.
Same shit. Yeah, no.
You know what changes though? The closing time. Hotels don't have a closing time.
That's right. Lobbies in the hotel room, bars. And you're creating all these jobs.
Listen, just look at it like this. Everybody's dead center, like, oh, we want every bar to close at 3:00. Okay. Just look at behavior for a minute. You remember when I said you always got to look more upon so you can actually start understanding more? You close at 3:00, and every bar closes at 3:00. Now, let's say I have 1,000 people in my place. Let's say Lobby has an additional 700. Chupitos has 100 people. But if you do the math between all the places, you're probably going to add up to maybe 6,000 people throughout the whole city that are currently at a bar, currently drinking, right? Now you say, lights on. All right, we got to go. Mm-hmm. Now you're pushing everybody to the streets at the same time. What is the first thing that's going to happen? The chances of things happening and breaking and a fight breaking out are much greater. Now look at New Year's Eve when we don't have a closing time. Call for service on the police department in the nightclub world drops 90% because people are leaving at their own will. I'm not telling you have to leave.
Yes, correct.
But how do you control it? Stop serving liquor at a certain time. I stopped serving liquor, but I keep playing music. Eventually, let me just get a water. Let's get out of here. but now you leave with your friends. Now you don't have a mob on the street at the same time. So this is how you do not create. You don't distress the police department, because that's the problem. You only got 15 cars in the whole city, and now they're running all over the place. But then what happens? The first thing a politician will do, like, oh, these bars are creating problem. No, we're creating jobs. Yeah. Your decision that of me kicking people out is what's creating the problem. But they would never take responsibility for that.
They want to give you the black eye.
And you're the bad guy.
Yeah.
Because you're selling liquor and you're getting people drunk, and you're the reason why people come into our city and getting fucked up and getting drunk, and you people peeing all over the place. Okay. Well, if I didn't have to kick everybody out, maybe I could let that person use the bathroom. Mm-hmm. But if that person is using the bathroom and you come to inspect my premises, now I get a fine because now you're telling me that I'm open after hours. You see? They don't look at things like that. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why in government,
it's antiquated.
You need people that are open-minded to listening, not to make decisions, just to listen, just to understand the behavior of things. Sometimes that's why a lot of politicians are not, the typical system is about, suppressing, hurting people, but they don't take the time to just listen to people what they have to say, because according to them, they know it all. And what do we make the mistake in? We let them go ahead, say a few good things, but we don't hold them accountable. And then we forget. And then we forget the stupid shit they did to us 3-4 years ago.
Absolutely. It goes back to that control.
Exactly.
But you break that mold all the time.
Exactly.
And you remind them. And that's why, again, going back to the visionary, you see it 5 steps ahead before everybody else does.
I try to see as further as I can. As much as I can, I try to.
And you're able to adapt to the situations.
I don't have a choice. Puppy, give me a second because we're almost finished.
Yeah, I want to get into the mastermind questions. These are just a couple questions we ask every guest here. Thought-provoking, but I want to see your side of these things. So I'll give you the first one. What book have you read that inspired you the most?
I don't read books.
Really?
Not
That's
one.
a first.
Not one. I'm not going to sit here, but I read this and I read that. I read nothing. My life is my own book.
I like that. Good answer, man. That's a first. No, but that's a first on this show. Wow, very impressive.
That's real, right?
Yeah.
Listen, you want me to give it the Instagram version of Edwin?
Yeah. You might write a book one day. You know? You don't think so? You wouldn't.
I want somebody to write it for me. Because I want to understand that. I want to take my same story. I want to record it. And I want to give it to 5 different people, and I want to see how everybody visions. What was their vision of my story?
I like that.
And then if 3 out of 5 get it right, then I think I'm on the right track.
I mean, they could write a movie on that at this point. What person in your life has brought you the most influence? I think you might have answered this already.
Arnie was my most influential person in my life because he structured me in every sense of the way. And as a man, he came from the bar business, the fucking around years. Mm-hmm. He used to own go-go bars. So you can imagine the stories that I have with this guy.
Oh, forget about it, man.
But then he also told me, that's all cool, but you also have to be this. And you have to understand, how to respect money, how to respect and how to have discipline, because you could get carried away in the fun too. And once you get carried away in the fun, some fun you cannot come back from.
He taught you about how to handle overabundance.
Of course.
That's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Because at a young age, with all that money, you can go crazy. And
money's an evil, bro.
Yeah.
Money's an evil. You got to respect it.
But that's where the discipline comes in, and the practices and the heart.
Yep.
That keeps you sane. Are there any practical tips you can share that has helped your process in business and life combined?
Learn about credit, man. Learn about credit, you got the world. We live in a world that money is only part of your success. If you have a good plan and you have good credit and you have your ambition and everything in line, the chances of you making it are going to be much greater. If you save money but you don't have credit, your money's going to go as far as the credit that you have, accumulated, or the money that you have.
Right.
So let's say you have 100,000, but you have no credit. You know what you got? You got 100,000.
100,000. You can't make it.
You got 100,000, and you got great credit. You got $1 million. That's the difference.
That's the difference. It helps you make more.
Exactly.
What keeps you driven in life?
Mr. Gabriel, Mr. Brian Gomez.
And Isabella.
And
Don't forget about my sister.
I don't. Of course not.
Don't
Of course,
forget about her. No.
never. My goal is to leave a very strong legacy for my kids, but not only leave it, but like at the same time, kind of teach them how to follow it, and hopefully I'll be around to understand that they're ready for it.
And guide them along the way.
Yeah, because like I told you before, I'm more afraid of leaving something that they don't understand and they don't respect. You know, it's like you lending your car, your Lamborghini to Gabriel. You know what I'm saying? He'll be so excited. One, he never knew how to make the money for it. He's probably gonna treat it like shit. He's probably gonna put the foot on the gas and he might crash it. But if I now know that he knows how to drive it, that he understands that even though the car could go extremely fast, you have to be very careful where you do it. And then on top of that, you got to give it its maintenance so it could sustain its value.
Right.
Then he's ready for that car. And that's what life is. Life is a car. We drive our life every day. What direction you take it in, that's all up to you.
Absolutely. And what you put in it, that'll
Exactly.
make it last longer. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the investing to yourself for
Exactly.
your mind, body, and soul. Absolutely. Have you ever had any vices, and how did you overcome them?
What do you mean by that?
Like bad habits.
I think I need to control drinking,
Okay.
because you see the problem. I'm in a business that everybody thinks that I'm always celebrating. Like, for example, you come and visit me, right?
Mhm.
You haven't seen my business, and you probably come out maybe once, twice a year. But thousands of people come out on a regular basis, and they all want to celebrate because they're all my friends. They all call themselves like, "Yo, I want to have a drink with you, Eddie. What's up? What's up? What's up?" Imagine if everybody does the same thing. You do that 7 days a week,
Oh,
and everybody thinks that the word, addict, comes from a person that's living in the street. No, they just happen to have a habit that he cannot financially sustain. But does that make him? Does that make different from the guy who's an attorney with a tie with a Rolex, but that drinks 10 times a day? What's the difference?
they're both addicts.
They're both addicts.
Yeah.
The only difference is that this one can sustain it because he makes enough money, and he can't consume more than what he makes, and the other guy doesn't have the money and never had it to consume, but he just got addicted to something that he cannot sustain. So what does he do? He gives up his house. He starts damaging his whole life, and to the point that he ends up in the street. They both did the same mistake, and they're both addicts. That's one thing that I would say. If I could definitely get away from it, which that's my goal, is to somehow get away from that, is that.
Are you handling it better?
Oh no, well, listen, I'm not. It's not like I'm an alcoholic either.
Yeah, I got you.
But then you know what I'm saying is like I've seen a lot of people that are in my industry end up in the wrong path.
And they lose it.
Because one thing you cannot get back is health. And that's one thing that I'm afraid of. Just that one thing.
And you keep it under control, and it never gets overboard.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What you probably answered this one too. What does the next level of success in your life look like?
My goal is to complete Barcode and turn it into a franchise. But I want to complete it with the hotel, with multiple restaurants within the property. And I want to cookie cut that in major cities. I would want to do Miami one day. I would definitely want to do Chicago, Texas, LA. We're doing now New York City.
Yeah.
But New York City is just a Barcode, but it's just like a small percentage of what my vision of a franchise is. You see, like, I want to be able to have the buying power with every single artist. So let's say, for an example, like me, I'm a big fanatic for house music.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you get a guy like Tiesto.
Okay.
I don't want to buy one date. I want to buy 10 dates.
Gotcha.
But I want to have 10 clubs to send them to.
Cornering the market.
But if I corner that,
Yeah.
then I also got, when I buy the reggaeton artist, for example, Bless, the new hot kid, or Ryan Castro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the way, like, I brought J Balvin here for the first time.
Yeah.
Before the first concert he ever performed was with me in the U.S. at a major venue. But imagine if I was able to do that, but I would have 10 locations nationwide to send them to. But now I'm buying tours. That's where I would want to be. But then also have the hotel. Then have, the pool side with, for the pool parties, for the concerts on the pool. Like, I want to create entertainment complexes around the nation.
And that is a scalable business now for you in Barcode and Elizabeth. Do you see it being scalable in other territories?
Of
Or
course.
is there a challenge? Because not everything's Elizabeth, but
you know what I look at it. Look, just look at it like this. Every one of these people that I'm mentioning, they're all selling venues nationwide. But what if they were mine?
you're onto something here, man.
You see, that's the goal.
This is groundbreaking.
Well,
This has never been done before.
it's been done. No, it has.
What level?
It has, because you got a company like, for example, like Live Nation.
Okay.
Like, I would never want to see a Live Nation as my competition. Like, I would love to see them one day as a partnership.
Gotcha.
Like, I would like to see, them having, like, for an example, a list of, or like a William Morris, for an example, that they're one of the biggest talent companies in the nation, right? I would want to be in a situation where somebody's coming up. Hey, all my stages are your stages. But now we get close-minded to reggaeton or hip-hop. Do you know how many genres exist?
It's universal.
The world is so much bigger. Even Christian music. Christian music is one of the most popular genres in the world. We just don't happen to be a fan of them because I'm not a hardcore religious person. Well, that's about it. Mm-hmm. You look at it like, the world is big. We just think the problem is that our world is this big, but the world is this big.
But it goes back to that mentality from the beginning. We think we're not good enough or we can't see far enough, but you're building that with these complexes that you're looking to do.
That's my goal.
Yeah.
That's my goal. And my goal is to I want to give people a show. I don't want to give you the average, little bunch of moving heads. And no, I want you to go in there and I want to blow your mind away.
Experience.
I want you to, from the moment you get out of your car to when you're making a line to buy your ticket or whatever, I want everything to be an experience. I want to have shows going on while you're online to get in. I want to have liquor companies, sampling product, but because let's say, for an example, like let's say Hennessy comes out with a new product. You got to go inside and maybe hope that they actually buy it. But what if I catch you in the line and I'm sampling to you? By the time you make it inside, I really like that shit. You just order about it. You understand? It's all branding. It's all marketing. A lot of people,
how you present it.
A lot of people don't understand the business side of things. And that's why they don't grow, because they get comfortable in a certain setting.
Stagnant, complacent.
Yeah, not me, man.
You want to keep growing, and but that's part of life, is to grow and evolve. If not, you're dead. If I'm not doing something every day to make myself 1% better, I feel dead inside, and I have to keep pushing, no matter what that is.
Yep.
2 more for you, Eddy. What event in your life shifted your thought process to want to be more successful?
When I almost lost it all. That's like. It's one of the things, like, for example, like one of the things that we all do, we start making X amount of money and then we get comfortable. Then we feel like, we could just buy a house and I could just get a mortgage, But what happens when everything goes to a dead stop? Pandemic was a perfect example.
How did you handle that?
By owning my properties outright. Because when I almost lost it all, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to put myself through this shit no more. Because what? I was making money. I would go, back in the days, it was the, Ed Hardy stuff, and a jacket was like $700, $800, $900. And I would, back then it was a lot of money. I kept spending and spending, but because I was making enough to cover my bills. But what happened when all that dries up? Instantly. Now you could lose your house. Now you could lose your car. I'm like, I would never put myself to that position. Mm-mm. And it almost happened to me once before. So I'm like, you know what? Every penny that I make, I'm going to pay these properties off. Yeah. And then every financial person, they'll say, no, it's not smart to own your houses.
Yeah.
But you know what's not smart either? To lose them. So if I have to gamble between having my shit organized and paid for, or what everybody tells me I should do on the financial side, I prefer to sleep at night to know that. And if everything goes to shit, everything that I have is full blown out equity for me.
If you own the building, you can't get fired.
I own every piece of my property. I own them outright.
Smart, man. Wow.
But if I would have bought the Gucci's and this and that,
You would have made somebody else rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would have been a different person if you like bought all that luxury stuff. But that's not real luxury. Material things are not luxury.
and a lot of people
point.
are broken famous. And I'm not here to broken famous, bro.
Yeah.
I want you to see me in the street, and I want you to have 10 doubts in your head that this guy maybe does. But you know what? That's your problem. I know who I am, and I don't know what I got. I'm not here to impress you.
I'm here to live my life and to inspire my
I prefer.
family.
You know who I prefer to. You know who I prefer to impress. I prefer to impress a bank.
100%.
When I go into a dealer and I want a specific car, and I go in looking like a bum, and they think that I cannot afford it, and then they run my credit, and they see that I'm in the 800s,
Yeah.
and they see that oh, that's your bank account, and this is all your
All of a sudden, their posture changes.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
offering you water.
You know, that's how I ended
Don't
up.
judge a book that it's covered.
That's how I ended up with a Lamborghini. Believe it
Yeah.
or not,
Yeah.
I went to the dealer, and I went to go buy a Bentley. I had just been in construction that day. I was in my construction boots. My pants were all dirty. I went with him and a friend, and
No, we went with Mike, right?
with Mike.
Impulse buy?
Hmm?
Impulse buy, or was it a planned purchase?
No, I wanted a Bentley.
Okay.
I used to have a Bentley before,
I remember. Yeah.
and I wanted to get myself the newer one.
Gotcha.
So when I went to the dealer, I looked like $10. You would think that this guy is just one of those annoying guys just trying to sit in the car, right? So when I walked in there, I met this young guy. He's like, "Oh no, that car that you want." I showed him a picture. I'm like, "No, Eddie, that car comes out in 2 years from now." But that was just a
Demo.
that was a demo that they were showing off to people who could start understanding the new Bentley that was coming out. But if you want, we could put you on a waiting list. I said, nah, it's all right. So as I'm walking out, they have a specific place where they have the Lamborghinis in Manhattan Motors. And there was this old man sitting in there in an glass enclosed space with 3 Lamborghinis. And I'm trying to get the guy's attention. He's like, oh, no, give me 1 second. And this is 10 minutes, 15. But then I'm hearing the conversation. This guy's talking about grandkids, where they're going to go out next week, the restaurant. And so I'm like, wait a minute, this guy's blowing me off.
Mm-hmm.
So hold a personal conversation that has nothing to do
With business.
with business. So I go over to the other room. I call the kid that took care of me on the Bentley side. I said, can you sell any car you want in this building? Like, yeah, what do you want? I want that one right there. And he's like, yeah, it's 375,000. I'll just have to run your credit, and if you qualify, just tell me when you want to pick it up. I said, no problem. Give him my information. He comes back, oh yeah, you'll be unqualified. Mm-hmm. How much is the down payment? The guy says it's like $22,000. 25 is going to be something like that. Mm-hmm. All right. I go to the car. Nice little brown bag. 25,000. The old man looked at me. I said, you see, don't ever judge a book by its cover. Because you thought I was a bum. You thought I was not going to be able to afford this car.
Yeah.
Doorman.
And now, send it to my house, please. Now, I'll tell you one thing that I didn't do. I didn't test drive that shit. And I should have, because I would have never bought it.
You're like,
They delivered the car to my house. I was in a meeting in my house while the car's being delivered. So they leave me the keys. And when I go to the car to turn it on, I didn't know how to turn it on. I had to go on YouTube.
wow.
And YouTube my car so I could
Come
tell,
on.
even know how to turn it on or how to even put the gears.
Look at that.
No, because the car doesn't have a drive. It doesn't say none of that.
That's like a
It's
freaking
like you gotta
computer,
know. It's
man.
like, okay,
Yeah.
to put it on drive, you gotta hit the paddle once. How the fuck did I know that shit? I just learned how to put my car in neutral the other day when I went to the car wash.
Come on.
Because I don't do hand wash. That thing.
Yeah.
Oh, and
No,
people
no.
like, how you gonna wash that car? Because I feel like it. And when I put gas, I put regular. I'm not gonna put super.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, oh my god, like why you putting that to that car? Because it runs.
That's it.
That's it.
Absolutely.
Oh, but you're not taking care of the car. I'm not keeping it. That's gonna be somebody else's problem.
Smart man.
As long as it runs for me right now, that's
all
somebody
you
else's
care
problem.
about. Yep.
Shit.
Are you a pro now at the driving with this thing, or?
But that car only has 12,000 miles. I had the car since 2018. I don't drive that shit.
It's a lot of pressure driving that too, right? Do you feel like
My problem is that the windshield's right here.
it's low?
So I got to do this, or I have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when the thing is up? I have no choice but to be like this.
Yeah, it's like a racing car.
So I would have never bought that car if I would have driven it.
But you never had the experience either if you didn't buy it.
But I love it. So.
Yeah, there
It's
you
like
go.
a hate and love car.
This is
he,
so,
he loves it.
He loves
he
that.
loves that, and he loves my truck.
I love it. Like he drove the truck to this like podcast, like right here. Like he took the truck, and I love that one truck.
Mhm.
I love it. Like it's.
I'm gonna have to give it to him.
Yeah, right. It's gonna be
I'm
yours.
gonna give him the G-Wagon.
Oh, G-Wagon's beautiful too.
He has. Well, he has a. I told him he has a nanny, so that she helps out and takes care of him, and because the mom, she's always working too. So I told him, listen, make sure she has a driver's license, and I'll give her that truck so she could take care of him.
There you go.
Wait, I have something to say.
Sure, buddy.
Like, if you want to do something, you have to understand the consequence. Like, Fortnite's a video game, right?
Absolutely.
It
My
started-
nephew loves it.
Started in 2017. It was going great, and then all of a sudden they started adding brand new stuff, everything, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and it started going downhill from there. And then they
overproduced it.
they overproduced it. But in Chapter 2, Season 8, they literally got rid of everything they added. They got rid of the zombies, the monsters.
They brought it back to its roots, and you know why?
And
Because sometimes when you do something and you try to overproduce it, sometimes you damage the product. So the key is to bring it back to its roots, so it could get the life that it once had before.
and the two things.
That's absolutely right.
And the two things that
Back to the
saved
basics.
game.
Yep. It's the same thing we were talking about with producing music. You
Yeah.
overproduce it, you kill the song.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
the two things that actually saved the game were the lightsabers and Marvel, and then in the new season, like the brand new chapter, they brought Marvel and The Rock. That's all they did.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah,
The
The
Rock-
Rock is one of the characters in Fortnite.
So now they're doing good again.
Yes.
You see, they're back to the basics.
They brought
basics.
Doctor
Don't leave
Strange.
it that
Give me,
hanging.
you're not gonna be hanging. They brought it back to the basics.
Like, and they brought back the lightsabers that saved Fortnite. It saved it. But the reason it started going downhill the next season is because they got rid of Spider-Man's web shooters. Like, that
You know
was
what's
the best thing.
crazy in any business, and whether it's this or whatever you talk about, like sometimes you never know what the success of your business is. I'll give you an example. The world, it sounded a world of a genius idea. Like, okay, the pool, the winter time came, let's close the pool, let's turn it to a dance floor. Everybody would be like, wow, we got a dance floor now, right? My sales dropped 30%.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Why? Because the new wave, the new customers, their satisfaction is standing around a table with a hookah. There's no more dance floors. If you look at the
True.
club scene, there's no more dance floors.
You think COVID killed that?
Oh no,
So,
no, it's been happening.
It's been happening.
COVID was like the thing that shook people to like get out of your comfort zone. And if you stayed in your comfort zone, you're not gonna make it. And that's what COVID did. But in what I do, and like for example, like I took chances. Like I put this thing in, never realizing that it was gonna drop, and it stole the magic from the room. Because even though the dance floor looked so great on pictures and ambience, and the people there really enjoyed it, the VIPs, what was considered the VIPs, they were on the outside of the dance floor. So what happens? The person that was standing in the dance floor, they were more elevated than the person that was on the regular floor. So now
Aesthetically, it wasn't
you're paying a lot of money
to be lower.
to be lower and have somebody's ass in your face.
Gotcha.
You
Yeah.
see?
It didn't make. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Bobby, we have to go.
So what I was trying to teach you is when you want to do something, you need to understand the consequence of what's going to happen. You need to understand the consequences.
Absolutely. That's a
But
life
you know what?
lesson
But
every
you know
day.
what the crazy thing is, that if you don't take those chances, you're never gonna know either.
Yep.
So sometimes I prefer to take, like, now I know that I would not do that again. But if I would have never tried it, I would always be dreaming about, oh, what if I put a dance floor in? Right?
But it's the lesson that you learned that made you better.
Now,
Yeah.
now me continuing building Barcode, I'm not going to put a dance floor in. I'm going to build it to what people want. But you're only going to know that is as you make changes.
And as you make the mistakes along the way.
Exactly.
Last question, Eddie. What's the last thing you bought that changed your life?
It's a tough one.
I'm not going to say that I bought it, but I believe that and it hasn't changed my life because it's too recent. I started a new type of business. You see, I'm used to the nightclub, the lounge, the table service, and all that stuff. And I got into a partnership with a guy that he owns 8 restaurants. But when you go to this place, their food is amazing, the places are beautiful, but the prices are extremely cheap. But when you start doing numbers, you're like, how the fuck do you make money with these numbers? Well, volume. That's how you make money with it. So, not that I bought something, I joined something that opened my eyes to a different type of business that could be extremely profitable if you know how to play your cards right, and if you are disciplined, making sure that every number is accounted for. Because the margins are very small, but if you do them in volume and in enough times around, like for example, like in China, you buy things for pennies, right? And it's pennies for every little thing. Oh, that costs 2 cents or 1 cent or whatever. But then you figure, like, how the hell these people own businesses and sell products that they sell for pennies? Well, they sell volume. And that's how you win. And that's how, in that type of industry, that's how you really win. And I got to learn something new. So now, within my new few projects, I want to do the same thing that I did with Mambo, but I want to do that with a Colombian restaurant, very cheap prices, very beautiful place, and do a lot of volume.
And delicious food.
And I want to do the same thing with a Puerto Rican restaurant. So I got the properties. Now I just got to start putting them together.
And that's the one thing I told you a couple weeks ago when I saw you at Mambo. I said, this price point is amazing. But that's where the volume comes in. Because
and I bet you right now, there's a wait.
Of course. Of course. Because
we had a 4-hour wait on Sunday. We had a 3.5-hour wait on Saturday. Friday was the same thing. And when I opened that place the first time as the sale, I'm like, how the hell am I ever going to fill this place up? But you know what? It was a question because I didn't have enough people that could financially afford to go out on a daily basis.
God bless you, Papi.
Bless you.
I tried to hold that.
Okay.
But I couldn't find enough people that could financially support something like that on a weekly basis, or even maybe once or twice a week. But a place like Mambo, it's cheaper to come and eat in my restaurant than for you to cook at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for an experience.
And the quality of food, everything. It was was amazing, the whole experience.
Let's say you go out with your family, you go to the supermarket. You're probably spending $40, $50, $100 just to make a few things at the house for 7 to 8 people to eat.
Go to Mambo.
You go to Mambo, you're going to spend $100 and you get to choose what you want to eat.
And it's the experience.
Which
I was amazed when I went in there. And I told you that. So I'm very, the ambiance, the aesthetics, the architecture, everything was just on point.
Again, in that location, I really had nothing to do with the design. That was all my partner who did it. And I really admire the work that he did. I stood away because that's not what I ever did. I never opened up a Cuban restaurant. That's what he knows how to do because this is his 9th location. But there's a saying in Spanish, zapatero su zapato. If you don't know it, don't do it. Let the expert do it. And I did that. I stood back. I lent my support whenever he needed it. But the guy's a genius. And he knows how to do it. And that's why we both blended so perfect, because I brought to the table, he brought a product, and I brought the customers. And I brought the customers, and they keep coming back. So obviously something is being done right.
Perfect marriage.
Perfect marriage.
Yeah, and I think the biggest takeaway, and we'll wrap it up with this, is that just as much as you're a great teacher, you're also a better student. Because you're able to sit back and analyze and understand and let the people do that what they're great at do, and you're just making sure it's orchestrated the right way.
Listen, man, the only way you grow is by learning. But if everybody tells you to do something and you keep thinking that you know more than them, then eventually those people say, you know what? All right, no problem. You do it. And then you're gonna bust your ass. And you know what? I'm about to be 45. I don't need to be busting my ass anymore.
It's time to take it easy and just scale up. That's it. Eddy G, brother, I want to thank you so much for coming on this show, man, for taking time out of your schedule. You are an inspiration to a lot of people. You're a great businessman. You're a great person. And I am very excited to see what you're going to do next, man. And thank you for taking this moment to speak with us.
No, man, my goal is to plant the seed into a lot of young minds and maybe someday be their partners too. You know, listen, if I build monsters and the money's coming in, I'm a simple guy. I don't spend money on shit. Maybe I become your bank. And if I become your bank, I do it in a way that now I'm picking your brain, but now I'm giving you opportunity, but I'm gonna also win on your hard work.
You're making me feel something, because me and my wife talk about this all the time, and I thought she was, crazy when she told me. She was like, "Babe, we can do something where we can be banks for the people that are less, that need to." And I said, "You're crazy." Fear, right? But you just said it again, and it just makes me feel like, okay, we're on the right track, but we gotta stop thinking fear-based.
Listen, man, it's a mechanism that we develop because of our surroundings. That's all it is. Fear. That's all it is. Fear is a mechanism that we develop. That's all it is.
On the other side of that is success, man.
But if every time you fail as a kid, you were on a skateboard and you busted your ass and you get right back and you keep getting on.
And then you
now fearless. You're 40, you were programmed to be feared, and you were programmed to say that if you bust your ass, you could break your leg and you could hurt. But you could also not wake up tomorrow. So you're gonna live your life. You're gonna die today because you're afraid to die tomorrow. It's like, right. What's the logic in that?
Wow, brother. I have to tell you, man, I've learned a lot in this last hour and a half or so, and I'm just thankful again for you being on here, man.
No, man.
I appreciate your time.
I'm always around, man. I'm always around, and I'm always and I will always lend my time to speak whatever I have encountered as knowledge, because maybe tomorrow this speech could be heard by somebody who just needs to hear some of these words,
Yeah.
And that's all it is, man. Sometimes it's just a little spark that changes your life.
Absolutely. And that's why I created this podcast, to inspire people to want to do something different in their life. And you are the example of I'm an artist, not a salesman.
Bro, we all have a passion, we all have an art. We just got to know how to monetize it.
Absolutely, man.
And put it to work. And not to be afraid of it. That's it.
Eddy, thank you so much.
Anytime,
I really appreciate you, man. And
thank you,
guys, that is a wrap on episode 13 of I'm an Artist, Not a Salesman podcast. If this podcast inspired or moved you to follow your dreams or aspirations, please subscribe to our Apple, Spotify, and YouTube platforms by typing in Luis Guzman, I'm an Artist, Not a Salesman, and clicking the subscribe button. Please make sure to follow my Instagram handle at Luis Guzman 2444 for further content and updates. I am thankful for every listener, and I pray you have a blessed one, not a stressful one. Peace.
Wow. Tell you my problems, brag about success. You're always there when I'm down and I'm stressed. My mind is a thought away. I'll be in outer space. Sometimes it's just a throwaway, but either way, I never go away. Through rejections and comments suggested, you stay manifested. I never lose a step. I gain about 50. I break through the wall steadily and quite swiftly. You can't break my spirit. I'm a self-starter. Don't ever let me go. Passion, I need you, mama. Don't ever go.
I need you by my side. Without you, I would die. If there's no you, I don't have hell. I need you more than life itself. Don't ever go. No, baby, no, baby. No, baby, no, baby. Don't ever go. No, baby, no.
Don't ever go. Never go go astray. And if you go AWOL, I'll never be the same. The love of a woman is the strength of a man. Keeps me on my toes, defines who I am. My soulmate, checkmate, no more playing. I'm thinking like a grown-up, mommy, I'ma own up to the mistakes that I done in the past. Blame my mind, not my heart, cause I never use that. All these other chicks, they just wanna get close to me, cause they see me as a ticket, I'm the lottery. And I can change their life, but I'd rather not, cause I got my wife, and she's rather hot, and they rather opt to be on my jock. But I got common sense, I don't need a flock. All these birds mad cause they ain't got a nest, but I will never leave you, mommy, cause you are the best.
I need you by my side. Without you, I would die. If there's no you, I don't have hell. I need you more than life itself. Don't ever go. No, baby. No, baby.
Never leave, baby. I got you.
Don't ever go.
Never disappear. I love you, my dear. Am I being clear? Don't become a trend. Learn to reinvent. I'm your #1 apprentice. I'm learning to accept the changes you incurred. Your speech has slurred, but I'ma bring it back to square one. That's my word. With a little twist. My thoughts are outrageous, but you can be my miss. We're each advantageous to one another. I reach for your love. Sometimes I get, cause I know you're building trust. When your tough love combined, it's harder to intertwine. Ideas that I have to make us one of a kind, but I will never quit as long as you don't leave. I wear my heart on my sleeve until you make it bleed. Cause if you choose to vanish, I would have to ask myself why I struggled and never took you for granted.
I need you by my side. Without you, I would die. If there's no